Hello. Alrighty, I think we are live. I am live. I'm live for impromptu live. Let me see if I'm live on all my platforms. Alright, if you are hearing me and seeing me, let me make sure I could see my comments. If you are hearing me and seeing me, just let me know that you are hearing me and seeing me, and which platform you are joining me from. Now, this is a little impromptu, so we'll see, you know, who comes on, because I didn't plan it and I didn't announce it. I just said I'd go live, right? So, yes, I see that I'm live on LinkedIn. And let me just check to see if I am live on Facebook. It looks like I'm live on Facebook as well. I'm not going to check all the platforms, but I'm supposed to be live on a number of my Facebook platforms. I should be live on my Facebook profile, live on YouTube, and live on LinkedIn. So I just want to say hi to everybody first. Hi, everybody. And of course, I am live and we are live, and this is an impromptu live. I guess I will announce, I'm going to put some pressure on myself to go live for this week. I'm going to put up some pressure on myself to go live for this week, right? So this is my first impromptu live. It is Tuesday night, of course, in the West. And where I am, it is bright and early Wednesday morning. So I'm going to try my best to go live. Really, really try my best to go live for the rest of this week. I'm putting some pressure on myself. So if you are joining me, let me know where you are watching, where you're watching from, right? What platform you're watching me on. As I mentioned, I'm on Facebook. I'm on a number of my Facebook pages, profiles, etc. I am live on YouTube, trying to sort of re-energize YouTube, and I am live on LinkedIn. So let me know which platform you are seeing me and you're joining me from, and of course where in the world you are joining me from as well, right? I know I tend to have a lot of trainees, so I'm always happy um, to chat and to see everybody as they come on, right? So today's live, again, I always say I'm going to try to make it very short. It is impromptu, but I wanted to, it's based on a conversation I had on Saturday. So this live is for I should say, in the WhatsApp. I had that kind of WhatsApp chat with someone, and I said, um, let me come on and talk about it, right? And I think I have it there in the title of the live. So this live is for anybody who has said or who has started a business and wants to start a business and they don't know what business they could start. In fact, that was the conversation with the individual that I had. The person mentioned that they, got into business. They were a part of, they had a small restaurant. They had to close the restaurant. Of course, this person has a lot of other skill sets, but of course, there's a little bit of a fear. And also to, honestly, they said they really don't know what business they could start. And I think, and that is, some conversations that I've been having offline. So if you are in that space, stay with me, right? By the end of the live, I want to kind of show persons that there is a business inside of everybody. We have ideas, we have skills, we have talents, and we can, there is something that you can do, and there is some skill set or experience that you could monetize. So let me just start quickly. It's always good to start with a story, right? A story closer to home. So I think one of the misconceptions that exists is that we look at people online, and we look at maybe the big gurus and the entrepreneurs, and we think that they have these brilliant ideas, and these ideas, um, these great big creative ideas and inventions that turn into apps and all these things, right? Now, the truth is, that it wasn't my story, and I think that isn't the story of a lot of persons, right? When I started my entrepreneurial journey, which was in 2013, it was out of necessity, right? I was simply out of a job, and so I simply started with what I already knew, right? Um, back back then I had started a kind of brick and mortar business that I later closed, and um, but something started then that came out of it was training, right? Training for me. Now, I had worked as a marketing manager, sales and marketing manager, um, and I was a lecturer up until that point. Well, I still lecture, right? But I taught marketing, I taught business or entrepreneurship, um, and eventually, of course, people started to ask me for marketing advice. They asked me for career advice, which is something I gave in the beginning. They asked me for branding advice, and then that one opportunity led to another, right? And so I didn't really create a brand new industry, right? I was a marketing manager, and now I'm a marketing consultant, right? So I simply kind of monetize what I already knew. Of course, this has evolved and has taken on many forms, but that is where things really start. And that's what I want to kind of get into today, right? Today's live here. Um, and what I want persons to understand just based on my WhatsApp conversation on Saturday. Your job that you have now has kind of already trained you in a certain way, right? I am certain that you are solving problems and outing fires in your profession right now, right? And people are paying you to solve those problems, right? And I want to give you some examples here, right? I like to just bring some real life examples from real life people that I speak to, right? You might be a teacher, and you might think you're teaching secondary school, primary school, tertiary education, and then you're thinking, well, how can I digitize this? How can I put this online? You can become an online tutor. You can become, um, I spoke to someone about exam coaching, right? Coaching for examinations. That's a big thing. People have a lot of anxiety and don't know how to prepare for exams. So that was a space we spoke about. So you could, again, online teaching you can do, or online tutoring. There are lots of specializations there. You can be an exam coach in some way. You can do digital courses, right? I have a colleague who has a platform that allows you to have digital courses. I mean, we have lots of things, right? You could even parlay into something along the parental space, right? Because lots of parents need support for students, which are their children, right? So there are things that you could monetize there. Let's go to HR. I think that's the easiest one. I think I get a lot of HR professionals, but I do have a lot of specializations, right? So again, I'm speaking to someone in IR, and that specialization you can do online consultations. You might specialize in another space in HR where you do interview coaching. I know persons who do that right now, and that can go and that can be digitized, right? You could, write CVs for persons. I know persons right now, again, that are doing that in the online space. LinkedIn, I speak about LinkedIn all the time. HR professionals can actually assist here as well. So you could do, career consulting, career coaching, right? Um, a nurse, right? I spoke to a nurse already. um, that's a wonderful space and an interesting space too, right? So medical and healthcare providers, there is so much information online now in terms of wellness, and people need support here. So I think there's a lot of specialization that could take place, and you can digitize your healthcare knowledge. You can um, go after a B2B market with different types of corporate wellness um, programs that can be delivered in an online space. You can do education for patients. I mean, lots of persons are on Instagram. Again, if you have your qualifications and your credentials and so on, that helps, you to be seen as a subject matter expert. You can do all your online, you could do online workshops, right? I have another colleague and friend who is in customer service. And again, I've mentioned to her, in fact, she and I have spoken about how to digitize mystery shopping, right? That was really, really interesting. And again, she can do more consulting, corporate workshops, digital products, those types of things. Now, I want to talk about maybe, um, again, I had an example of a baker, but maybe let's talk about somebody in the trades, right? Because I had a student about 3 or 4 years ago that was a plumber. Well, a little more than a plumber, so I don't want to say just a plumber, but had some technical expertise, water waste type of expertise, really, really good. And hopefully he has parlayed. I've seen he's done some stuff in terms of developing a website and so on, and he does some work regionally. But again, somebody who is in the space of plumbing and they have 20 years of experience could do so many things, right? You could do virtual consultations, you could give advice, you could do video calls to do the diagnostics. I mean, there are lots of tools now with artificial intelligence. People could do, you could do like maybe maintenance plans, perhaps, right? I know I'm just thinking of all the conversations, I've had with persons or had with this particular person in regard to that space, right? A plumber could still do online courses, right? How to fix certain types of plumbing problems, whether that is like DIY, how to unclog your drains, your guttering, and all that stuff, right? I used to work in construction a little bit, so I do really enjoy talking to technical professionals and seeing where that goes. Um, this individual that I'm thinking about that had some plumbing experience, but that wasn't it alone, right? He did some water waste stuff. He has a YouTube video that does pretty well, and he puts a lot of information there. And again, we can monetize our YouTube channels, right? Again, YouTube affiliate links, courses, there digital products. There are a number of things that you could do, creating um membership type platforms are still also relevant and practical, and many people do it across the world. So I want to say recurring revenue every month is very, very possible in 2026. We have to begin to think about how we are monetizing our skills and our experiences here, right? I think it's so super super important here. So here's where I think people get stuck, right? They think that they need a brand new idea. And as I said, I've parlayed what I did in my professional career or corporate career into what I do now, and it has evolved based on my interactions with clients. Clients have asked me for very specific things, and the economy and the landscape has changed. What I used to do prior to the prior to 2020, the pandemic, and now it has changed, right? So you have to also be open as time go by to kind of adjust and adapt based on what your clients are saying. This is what they're looking for. So there is no need for you to reinvent the wheel, right? You have the knowledge, your knowledge is already extremely valuable. You just have to know how to package it. So, before I close off this live, for those of you that are on, and I'm seeing some likes, thank you so much for joining me on my impromptu live, but I'm leaving you with three questions, right? Especially for persons who may watch it on the replay or persons who are looking at it now and are not sure what business they can start. I have three questions which I did on my webinar on Saturday that I want you to think about and ask yourself this question, right? So the first question is, what do people always ask me for help with? Right? What do people always ask me for help with? Right? In the beginning, people would ask me for marketing tips and advice. Right? Just that. Ask me for marketing tips and advice. Persons who now start their business, they would ask me that. So this is an audit session here. Think about your range of skills. Maybe not just only what you do professionally, but what you do as a hobby, and what it is you love to do. What do people always ask you for help with? That's the first thing, and write that down. The second thing is common question perhaps you hear us marketers say all the time. What problem can you solve? This is important. What problem can you solve? Uh, Sometimes the product or service that we are offering is not always a, a problem per se, but you have to think about it as what need exists out there. What do people need? What do people want? What issues do people have? What problems do they have, and how can I solve it? So, what problem can I solve is an important question to ask yourself, because again, you are now thinking about yourself in that capacity, right? What problem can I solve? And then the last one, which I think sometimes we need a little bit of help with, is who needs that particular solution, or who needs that particular product or service, right? Sometimes we say everybody, but we have to go a little deeper. It's not everybody. Who needs that particular solution? Like, for instance, the people who would have asked me for marketing advice in the beginning were new entrepreneurs, and sometimes they didn't have funds, and they would say, well, Debbie, what do you think? I need to promote this. What can I do? Right? So my target audience at that point in time, those persons who were asking me that question, were brand new entrepreneurs in their space, right? New startups, right? So not even I could classify and say existing companies or brands at that time, but very new startups will asking me that. You have to be very specific with this question 3. Who needs your solution, or who needs your help or product or service, right? So, guys, once you answer those 3 questions, you are kind of on your way to beginning to identify your chosen business and what you can do. And that is amazing, right? That's the first step. So with that, right, because we are the 20-minute mark and I'm gonna wrap up right now. This is why I created a program here. It's based on many conversations that I've had over the last 6 to 9 months, roughly, with a number of persons who have reached out to me in the DMs, and I have created this 90-day online business accelerator program. So over 90 days, we're starting on August the 12th. I'm going to help professionals kind of stop guessing. You're going to take specific knowledge and skills that you have, you are going to package it, you're going to build your personal brand, you're going to develop an offer, a product or service, you're going to set up your online presence, you're going to create and define your marketing strategy, at digital payments. We're going to discuss that, for anybody who follows Karen, they're new ones embarking now. So we're going to talk about how can you be paid online and set up those digital payments. I'm going to help you launch your online business. Now, not someday, this year. We're running from August the 12th, which is next week, to November the 12th. So again, if today's live made you think differently, I would be glad, because it's just a conversation that started in WhatsApp. What am I going to do? And I think I'm going to just carry out these lives for the rest of the week. If you are beginning to think and realize that you have specific skills that you could monetize, or that people could pay you for, imagine where you could be November 2026, right? Instead of talking about starting a business, you could actually have one, right? So this is your future. Registration is open. Again, as I mentioned, we start on August the 12th. And before you leave this live, actually, let me say this. If you have a specific profession, right, and I could check it for the rest of the day, right, which might be night in the West, but if you have a specific profession, or you have a specific online business idea that you think you want to start, feel free to drop it in the comments. I would love to reply to that, right? Saying, if I think this is a great idea, or if you are in a specific space and you don't know what you need to monetize or what you could monetize, then feel free to also drop that in the comments. I'll have a look at those and reply to you, right? Your next business and your next source of income is really in sometimes the knowledge and the experience you don't even realize that you already have. So I'll chat with you soon, and I will see you in the comments a little bit later on. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.